Somewhere deep in the heart of West Africa, a country rich in gold, yet robbed of its own wealth. Powerful forces, foreign hands, and corruption have kept its people in the shadows for years. But one leader, young, bold, and unafraid, is stepping up to fight back, to take back what's rightfully theirs. No one believed he could challenge the giants. No one thought he'd survive the pushback. And now, every move he makes could change the fate of a nation forever. Will he protect his people, or will the gold slip through their fingers again? In the dusty streets and golden plains of Burkina Faso, life moves in rhythm with the sun. Farmers tend to their fields, miners dig with calloused hands, and families dream quietly under the weight of a system that rarely favors them. Amid all this, Ibrahim Traoré lived a life that seemed ordinary at first glance. A soldier, a man shaped by discipline, duty, and the quiet hope of serving his people. But behind his calm exterior burned a restless determination. He had watched his country's gold, its most precious resource, flow into foreign hands, watched corruption quietly steal from generations. He knew the stakes weren't just numbers on a ledger. They were the future of every child in Burkina Faso. Pause for a second. If you saw your country's wealth slipping through the fingers of outsiders, would you stay silent or rise to fight? Traoré wasn't born into power. He rose from the ranks, learning the harsh truths of leadership and the price of injustice. Friends whispered that he was fearless. Others called him reckless, but all agreed. He was a man who refused to look away. Little did the nation know, the calm before the storm was ending. Powerful forces, both internal and foreign, were ready to challenge him. And when the first moves were made, the line between courage and catastrophe would blur, forever testing his resolve and the future of Burkina Faso's golden wealth. Imagine the weight of an entire nation's future on your shoulders. Could you handle it? Could one person truly change the course of history? As Ibrahim Traoré began stepping into the corridors of power, he quickly realized the battlefield wasn't just in the open fields or gold mines, it was everywhere. Bureaucrats buried in paperwork, foreign corporations with deep pockets, and invisible networks profiting from corruption all formed an invisible chain that kept Burkina Faso's wealth out of reach. Every decision he made seemed to ripple against a tide of resistance he hadn't fully anticipated. Reports came in daily, artisanal miners forced to sell gold at a fraction of its value, entire communities left without schools or clinics because the country's treasure flowed into foreign vaults. Traoré's heart burned with frustration, but retreat was never an option. He had promised his people that their gold, their future, would no longer be stolen under the guise of trade and tradition. Yet the challenge was bigger than he imagined. Powerful foreign firms, some embedded for decades, pushed back with threats disguised as negotiations. Local elites who benefited from the old system whispered in shadows, sowing doubt and fear. Every policy he proposed was met with obstruction. Every reform threatened by sabotage. And still, the people looked to him for hope, a beacon in a storm that seemed determined to swallow them whole. Would one man's courage be enough to face forces far bigger than himself? Traoré's strategy was precise but risky. He moved to suspend the export of unrefined gold, a decision that sent shockwaves through both the legal and illegal mining sectors. Smugglers reacted with bold defiance. Foreign investors threatened to pull out. Tensions escalated, and for the first time it seemed the very ground beneath his plans was shifting. People feared instability, but they also sensed change was inevitable. Each day brought new pressure. Meetings ran late into the night, filled with heated arguments, threats veiled in diplomacy, and whispers of betrayal. Traoré's resolve was tested not just in public, but in private, where doubts clawed at even the strongest hearts. The weight of responsibility pressed on him. One misstep could cost the nation not only its gold, but its fragile stability. Yet, amid the chaos, small victories emerged. Local communities began supporting state-led initiatives, miners whispered approval at covert gatherings, and international observers started noticing the shift. Traoré realized that the fight wasn't just about gold. It was about identity, sovereignty, and justice. The path forward was dangerous, unpredictable, but impossible to ignore. And then came the moment that would decide everything. The boldest move of his career, one that could either cement his legacy or destroy everything he had fought for. The day of reckoning arrived like a storm over the Golden Plains. Traoré stood at the heart of a nation's most precious resource, facing forces that seemed invincible. Foreign executives demanded compliance, local elites plotted in the shadows, and whispers of rebellion stirred unrest in the streets. Every Dinai in Burkina Faso, every heartbeat in the mining towns was on him. He made the boldest move of his career. The government officially took control of the most strategic gold mines. Contracts were suspended, export permits revoked, and a clear line was drawn. Burkina Faso would no longer bow to foreign greed. The announcement sent shockwaves. Diplomats called in, multinational companies threatened legal action, and protesters filled the streets, half in fear, half in support. For hours, Traoré felt the weight of history pressing down. Could he hold this stance against the tide of power, money, and influence that had dominated his country for decades? Every move felt like walking a razor's edge. One slip could ignite chaos, undermine trust, and erase everything he had fought to achieve. Yet as tension reached its peak, a surge of determination coursed through him. This wasn't just about gold. It was about sovereignty, dignity, and justice. He saw the faces of children in villages, miners risking their lives, families dreaming of a better future. And in that instant, fear transformed into courage. In Daikra, a world stacked against him, where betrayal lurked in every shadow, Traoré had to decide: surrender and let history repeat itself, or stand firm and reshape the destiny of an entire nation. The air was thick with anticipation, every heartbeat echoing the fragile line between disaster and triumph. The world watched, and so did the people, waiting to see if one man's courage could truly turn the tide. The storm finally began to settle. Traoré's bold stand had shaken the foundations of power, but it also ignited something far greater, a renewed sense of hope among the people. Communities once silenced by fear now spoke with voices that carried weight. Miners worked with renewed purpose, knowing their labor no longer fed outsiders' pockets. Children in villages imagined futures unbound by theft and corruption. Traoré, though exhausted and tested like never before, stood taller, not because he had defeated his enemies alone, but because he had reminded an entire nation of its own strength. Every challenge, every threat, had forged a leader who could see beyond the immediate struggles, who understood that courage isn't the absence of fear, but the choice to act in spite of it. What if every nation, every community, could summon the courage to reclaim what is rightfully theirs? How many futures could change if fear didn't hold us back? The story of Traoré and Burkina Faso's gold is more than a tale of one man. It's a testament to the power of vision, resilience, and the unyielding will of a people. It challenges each of us to consider our own role in standing against justice, protecting what matters, and shaping a future we can be proud of. So, as you watch this unfold, ask yourself, what would you fight for if your nation's future rested in your hands? And more importantly, how far would you go to ensure that courage becomes contagious? If this story of courage, resilience, and the fight for justice moved you, hit that like button and let the world know these untold truths matter. Subscribe to Untold Shades for more stories that reveal the hidden struggles and triumphs shaping our world. Don't forget to share this video and spark the conversation, because every voice counts when it comes to standing against injustice. And drop a comment below. What would you do if your nation's future was in your hands?